Okay, well, again, welcome everyone. Super excited for this EOS panel. Uh, this is a topic that comes across the airwaves. I know it's come across the virtual meetings that I lead. There's a number of members that have a lot of great experience with EOS or other operating systems, so they're very well versed in it. I'm hoping you gain something from this call today as well. There's also quite a few members that kind of turned their head sideways and said, EOS, I've heard of it, but I'm not really sure what it is, or some of the other operating systems out there. So super excited to have three wonderful panelists on our call today. I'm going to call them experts. They're going to say, oh, we're not experts, but they really are. They've been doing this for a long time. They're some wonderful people. I'm going to get into introductions here shortly. Let me toggle through my screens. Hopefully I don't lose anything. Okay, no, good. I think I'm okay. Okay, so let me get this started. I'm going to do a quick introduction. We have Adam Kaplan, who's a certified EOS implementer based out of Royal Oak, Michigan. Adam has guided, 20 entrepreneurial leadership teams on their EOS journeys. He's a teacher and coach. He was also, some of you may recognize Adam. He was also our director of our Detroit chapter a number of years ago. Before he launched into his EOS career full time. But we love having Adam back, just a wealth of knowledge. And if there's anything you want to add to that at a later point, feel free, Adam. But so glad to have you back. Also, Tara Piazza. Tara is COO, EOS integrator, and business coach with over 20 years of experience. She has done some amazing work helping companies grow and scale. She was also a former member of COO Forum, so we love having our members back when they after they go off and continue on their careers doing some amazing work. Besides being a certified EOS integrator, she is also a certified Catapult business coach, and so you'll learn a little bit about what Catapult is as another alternative to EOS, perhaps. But super glad to have Tara with us. Good to see you back. And then we're excited also to have Lauren Shaver. Lauren has worked with EOS for a number of years. She helps run their rocket fuel customer service or customer success part of the business, but more recently, the EOS integrator mastery forum. Super excited to have Lauren here. So when we want to learn about EOS, we go right to the source. So super excited to have Lauren with us. Did I do okay on the introduction, Lauren?
You crushed it. Excellent. Well done.
In from San Diego. So she's up super early this morning. She's caffeinated, so that's great. So glad to have you, Lauren.
Glad to be here.
All right, good. Let me switch over to one other screen. Are we ready to roll, folks? Can I get some thumbs up? We got some thumbs up? Okay, great. So here's how it's going to work today. We've got about 5 or 6 different sections. We're going to talk about what is EOS and the modern business operating system. Then we're going to talk about when and where to get started, choosing the right system, paid versus self-implementation, what does success look like, and then how to sustain the gain. So we're going to have those sections. There'll be a number of questions in each of those sections for the panelists. So this is when you can, sit back or lean in, but listen to what they're saying. And then at the end of each section, we'll open it up to member Q&A. And then once we go through the questions, we'll go on to the next section. Does that sound good? Thumbs up. All right, let's kick this show off. We are scheduled for approximately an hour and 15. We may finish a little bit early, get you off to your weekends, but please feel free to ask questions as needed at those section breaks. So are we ready? All right, without further ado, let's start off with Adam. First question of the day. Adam, how would you define a modern business operating system, and how does EOS work?
Sure. So hey, everyone, great to see you. And business operating system, you can just think about that as a complete and proven way to use simple and practical tools in an organized and systematic way to get more of what you want from your business.
Love it. And how specifically does EOS work, Adam?
Right. So we have a proven process where essentially you start off on your journey. We believe in traction first, vision second. So first, we like to get our teams working on the nitty-gritty meat and potatoes in the business, defining what the structure needs to look like, starting to work on your quarterly priorities with setting your rocks, helping you guys have a great meeting pulse with the level 10 meeting agenda, 90-minute meeting every week, and then get you a first crack at your scorecard so that you know how you're doing in your business. You have an absolute pulse in your business with the right numbers week in, week out. Then we help you carve out your vision. And then once you have your vision and your EOS foundational tools, then it's all about executing. I give you some more tools to put in your toolbox, and you get better and better at running your business on the EOS business operating system.
And if I understand correctly, Adam, there are different pieces to that system. There's a wheel that actually kind of lays out the parts and pieces of EOS. Can you explain that, or do you have a visual for that?
I can share, if you just give me a minute, I can definitely share the EOS model. So this is the EOS model. Can everyone see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
So really, we believe that there are 6 key components that every business leader needs to get 80% strong or better in. And this is based on studying all kinds of businesses and all kinds of systems over 100 years. And we believe, and we see with our clients, that when our clients get 80% strong or better in each of these 6 key components, they get what they want in their business. So I'll just describe these at a high level, and if you have questions later, we can go there. Vision, very simply, it's about getting every single person in the organization 100% on the same page with where you're going in the company and how you're going to get there. People, it's about getting the right people in the right seats. Data, running your business on facts and figures instead of egos and emotions and feelings, because that's often what we see in entrepreneurial companies, right? And then once we're clear on our vision, we have great people and we run our business on facts and figures, and all our issues come out, our imperfections, obstacles, challenges, opportunities, that's just normal. So we help teach a discipline on how to manage your issues. The 5th key component is process. That's just doing the most important things in your business the right and best way every time to create scalability, make your business more profitable and more fun. And then traction's about executing with discipline and accountability. So that's how we, at a high level, describe EOS. And we can definitely bring this back up later and get into more details on the model.
Love it. Thank you, Adam. And in terms of resources, Lauren, can you tell us about EOS Worldwide and how do you help service EOS customers?
Yeah, sure. EOS Worldwide is your help hub. It's the help hub for companies running on EOS, companies exploring EOS. What we do over on this side is we connect clients with implementers. You know, we think the strongest and best way to implement EOS is with a professional implementer like Adam. There are tools and resources and ancillary support that goes along with working with an implementer, or for organizations that are self-implementing, there are more tools and resources. So we kind of are that central reach out, and we will help define and explore what the right tools are, what the right fit is for where the organization is. So we do everything from matching clients to implementers based on their priorities, their preferences, and the needs of their business, to recommending and supporting education, learning, whatever it may be for either organizations running on EOS or for specific roles. We'll talk, I'm sure, today about specifically visionary and integrator roles. If you're here, you've probably heard the term integrator, and that's a very specific seat and role in EOS. And so we do have a lot to teach and support roles such as the integrator role. So SOS, come to EOS Worldwide is really what we're all about.
And we're going to share the links to EOS and everything that you're talking about today, Lauren, and our follow-up email to all the participants today. So we'll get that information out to you. Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren. And then Tara, welcome, Tara. Glad to have you back at the CO Forum.
It's good to see some familiar faces. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about some of the other operating systems that are out in the marketplace. I know we hear about EOS. Might not be as familiar with some of the other operating systems out there. If you would share a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, EOS, one of the reasons that EOS is so successful and really so beloved by the people who use it is that it's based on what's called the Rockefeller habits. There's a book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits that was written by Vern Harnish, who was the founder of Scaling Up, which is another system. But EOS, Scaling Up, and some other systems out there are based on these Rockefeller habits, which are kind of chronicled as the way that John D. Rockefeller managed his businesses at the time when really there was no such thing as a business operating system. People were just kind of lacked the discipline. He really brought this discipline. And so all the things that are in those Rockefeller habits are things like, making sure your team is aligned and that you have a good culture and that you have a culture of accountability. Those are kind of the underpinnings. So besides scaling up, which is really a little different from EOS in that it's really about scaling, like growing to a larger size, whereas EOS can be used for that, or EOS can be used for really just bringing structure where there might be a lack of structure. Another one is Catapult AI, which, as Chuck mentioned, is a system that I am certified as a coach in addition to being an EOS integrator. Catapult is similarly Rockefeller habits based, but it's software first. Some of the things that I really like about Catapult is it has really a lot of the same foundational stuff that Adam just mentioned for EOS, but it additionally introduces an element of personal long-term vision and personal goals, not just for the business owner, but for everyone in the system. And what that does is it kind of enforces two things. First, that your personal values are in alignment with your business values, so that you are, especially as the business owner, making sure that you don't have that kind of cognitive dissonance of running a company that's out of alignment with what you believe. And then secondly, it really, for both the founder as well as everybody else throughout the organization, it promotes the work-life balance by saying, yes, you have business goals and business rocks that you are accountable for achieving, but you also have personal goals and personal rocks. You need to get in whatever those goals are, reading X number of books or X number of date nights with your significant other or X number of workouts a week. So I really liked that personal element of it. The other thing that's different about Catapult AI is that it is software first. So it's with EOS, there's like, you can do EOS and you can implement it on 90.io. You can implement it on EOS 1. You can implement it in Excel if you want, or in Asana, or whatever your software of choice. Catapult is a software first, and then the system is kind of built in. And I like it because it's like, it's very easy to get started, but also as a EOS integrator, what I found difficult, sometimes companies are waver on what they want their data metrics to be. And with Catapult, it comes preloaded with metrics based on the industry that you're in. So there's kind of like some core metrics that are common to all companies, as well as specific metrics for different, if you're manufacturing or you're nonprofit or whatever. So those are kind of the Rockefeller habit-based ones. Then there are some other systems. You've probably heard of OKRs, which is a little different. That's about setting objectives as a process for setting kind of your objectives and tying key kind of measurement or KPIs to each objective to make sure that everybody understands not only where you're going, but how it's going to be, success is going to be determined. There's one called the 3HAG way, HAG being a highly achievable goal. That's something that companies will use if they're really just focused on an explosive goal. Like so that process is about setting the goal and then the tactics to achieve that goal. It's not a holistic operating system. And then there's the big ones that everyone's probably heard of. There's the balanced scorecard, there's Agile, there's Lean, there's Six Sigma. Some of these are better for like manufacturing when you're trying to like get super efficient and squeeze out errors. Some of them are like Agile is more for software where you have, rapid turnaround of where you're going based on what happened in the last week. And balanced scorecard being one that's for like massive organizations where you kind of have disparate parts of the industry, of the business or the organization, and you're trying to keep everyone aligned with a common vision and strategy. So that's kind of the overview, I would say, of the big ones in the market.
Yeah, I love that. And you use the term holistic operating system, and then you also mentioned Agile and Lean. I'm going to throw this question off to you, Adam, before we get into the Q&A with the members. But if I'm running on EOS, can I still do Agile and Lean and some of those other efficiency improvement programs?
Our recommendation is that you pick one operating system and stick with it. So okay. if you like EOS, do it. If you like a different one, we don't comment on different systems. So that's how we say it. And then the reason is because it's like a system. Like you don't put Chevy parts in a Porsche. You put Porsche parts in a Porsche, right? So you want to stick with kind of what you know is going to work within that system. Got it.
Great. Love the answer. All right, super. That was a great first section. So let's open it up to member questions. Fiona, I don't have a good view of everyone that's on the call, so if someone could please moderate. But if you've got questions, let's open it up at this point. Questions for the group?
I guess I'll go. So let's say that we've made the decision to move forward with the EOS system. Can you walk me through the process, how to get started? I understand, Adam, you would be somebody that would help implement it, but from my perspective, like, how do I need to think about it? How often do I get the teams together? How just give me a sort of a framework and a timeline of how to think about this for a successful implementation.
Okay, let me jump in. I mean, this is our proven process. So this is the process that we know works for an EOS implementation. All right, so if you were working with an EOS implementer like me, this is what it would look like.
Okay.
We first get together for 90 minutes. I give you the movie version of the traction book. And then it's 3 full days. Within the first 90 days, space-based learning. Traction first, as I said earlier, we get into the meat and potatoes, get you your accountability chart and some of these other things. Then we come back 30 days later, start working on your vision, work out the kinks and bugs from the focus day tools and do that again. So after the first 3 days, in about 90 days, You've mastered the focus day tools, and you have your 2-page business plan, your vision clear. And then we transition to execution mode every 90 days. So this is the model if you want to work with a professional EOS implementer. If you want to self-implement, which is a completely legitimate approach, then, and I've done that. So the main question you want to ask yourself is, who is going to be your internal implementer? Who is going to drive the bus? And then that person, I would recommend sign up to Basecamp, which I'm sure Lauren can get us a link to that, how to sign up. And then you have access to a lot of the tools that we have as EOS implementers, and you can watch some videos and you can do it yourself. So you really have 2 options. And I would really strongly encourage that you pick one of those 2 options. Any other option, I can't speak to the results that you would get if you just try and do piecemeal here and there and all that. But those are the 2 primary options for implementing EOS.
In how many? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. And I'll leave this up in case people have questions on this, and I'll take this slide off.
In just one follow-on question, so I don't assume. So, clearly you would want the key stakeholders that are involved in the process, but who, is there an ideal size group of people? Like if you had 20 people in the room, it's probably much. 2 people in the room is probably too little. But I don't know. And so, how do you think about sizing of the team that's part of this process?
Well, 100%. I actually had a 90-minute meeting right before this call, and they asked that very same question. So you're in good company. So the ideal leadership team size is 4 to 6 people.
Okay.
And it's always easier to add people on and take people off. 4 because you want to have enough diversity of views. 6 because once we find that it goes beyond 6, it adds, every person after that adds an hour to the meeting, and it's not necessarily a better meeting. Good question. Any other questions about this process before I take the slide off?
Any other nuggets like that one that we should be asking and didn't?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot. I want to give you guys what you need. So okay. You guys have to ask and advocate for what you need. I don't know what you need.
All right.
Hey, James, just to comment on your question a little bit. When we first implemented EOS, we had it was the leadership team at that time. We had probably 13 of us, and we went through the EOS process. And when you go through that, you set up your functions, integrator, visionary, and then that becomes your what we refer to the executive team, or in the EOS model, senior leadership team. And you're supposed to get down to that 4 to 6 or 5 to 7, whatever that number was. And we just thought we were unique, and we couldn't get to that number. So we ended up with like 9 on this team, and then probably 4 months into it. So I'm the integrator, and our owner is the visionary. I went back to him and I said, you know what, like, we're not doing it with 9. Like, good people, but we need to consolidate our functions. And it's really based on the functions that an organization has. And generally, every organization has a revenue generating function, an operations function, and potentially like a finance function. So, I would say model it around that: ops, sales, and marketing, finance. We do have a 4th function, people and talent, because that just became a good fit for us. But minimally 3 functions, I would say, and don't kill yourself on going past 5, probably.
And did you get it down from 9 to a smaller number? Were you successful at that?
Yeah. So we have 4 functions. So there's 4 function leaders, and then there's myself and the visionary. So there's 6 of us.
Gotcha.
Nice work, Brian. Good job.
Thank you.
I was just going to add in, I think it's worth mentioning too, and Adam can speak to this better. This is an exercise that an implementer would work with your team on in that focus day session. So when it says accountability chart, that's something that you're not left 100% to your own devices to just figure it out and bring it to the meeting. It's something that the implementers work through with those teams as they're starting to build the process.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Great questions. Let's move on to section B, because I think we're starting to pick up on some of the, the when and where to how do you get started kind of an approach. So let's do this. Let's jump into this next section, and then we'll keep the questions coming after this. So for you, Adam, and we started to get into this, but how do you know, or when you know that it's time for a business to adopt a business operating system like EOS? Like, for those out there that might be wondering this, like, how do I know we're ready, or what are the flags or the signs to tell me, like, hey, we need a system?
Okay, so the first sign is that you're stuck. You've hit a ceiling in your company. You're not growing anymore. You have high turnover. You're working 16 hours a day. You're not profitable the way you'd like to be or the way you used to be. Something is suggesting that you're stuck and you need to change something. So when do you know if it's the right time to change and commit to EOS or a system like EOS? So I believe that you have to have 2 or more people on a leadership team that are committed to going on a 2-year journey to implement the system, and that the people on that team are growth-oriented, open-minded, willing to be open, honest, and vulnerable, more afraid of the status quo than change. They don't like the way things are and they want to make it better. And they're willing to make a commitment to work on the system and not just do pieces of project work, or this is not about a seminar, an opportunity to dabble. This is a true change in how you run your business. So if you can check those boxes, and you're typically in a company of 10 to 250 people, then you might be ready.
Yeah, great answer, Adam. And Tara, from a COO perspective, in your experience, what were some of the signs, or how did you know? What would be some things that other members around the call would pick up on that says, yeah, we need an operating system like EOS or Catapult or other?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask Arel what she has her hand raised, and I know you can't see that, Chuck, so I was going to give her an opportunity.
Go for it.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We're operating on EOS. We started October last year, and we literally this week introduced it just high level to the company. And then just going off what Adam just said. Eric told me to tell you hi. He said you're awesome too. But so we shared it. So like in an EOS model, you have 1 year, 3 year, 10 years, right? And Adam, you just mentioned 2 years kind of to lay the foundation. So what we're struggling with is the evolution of it. So we have these goals set for 1 year, 3 year. It's hard to articulate to the staff like when it's actually going to happen. So that's kind of what we're struggling with. Like, can you talk about that? Because we have 1 year, 3 year, 10 year, and then the 1 year moves and it kind of like rolls into the 3 years. And so the anxiety with the staff is like, well, when is this truly going to happen? Since it's a 1 year goal, is it truly a 3 year goal? It's just a little fuzzy in that area. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Chuck, can I answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So the challenge there that you're speaking to 1 year into your journey is this whole question of rolling it out. Because the whole point of EOS and where you get the bang for your buck and the benefit of the system is when every single person in your company is connected to EOS in the way they need to be. And there's a lot of art to that. It's not just science, because every organization is different. After our third full day together, vision building day 2 is when we start talking about rolling it out. Right? So if, as I'm hearing you, you know, if your team isn't aligned on what the 1-year goals are, then we might need to dig deeper on what rollout should look like to them. We need to make sure that every quarter we're doing a state of the company meeting where your CEO is getting in front of everyone, either in person or on Zoom if you're a virtual organization, talking about where the organization is and sharing your VTO, which is your 2-page business plan, which includes a 3-year picture and 1-year plan. And hey, that's an opportunity. If anyone has any questions, this is where we're going. Let's ask it, right? And if that doesn't happen at that forum, then they can go to their manager and ask it. And that manager, presumably, you know, if it's a leader on the leadership team, they need to be able to answer that. Yes, once, you know, every year as we move forward, our 3-year picture is going to shift to some extent, and our 1-year plan is going to shift because we need a new 1-year plan. But that's not an excuse to not getting aligned on the 1-year plan we have in our current year, or the 3-year picture we have in our current year. So I think the root cause of that issue is some challenges with rollout, or maybe communication between your leadership team and everybody else, I think. Okay. Not knowing anything else. So good luck with that. Eric is an awesome implementer. So he'll get you where you need to go. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Super question, Arel. Thank you.
No problem.
So to get back to your question, Chuck, about you know, when CEOs seem to be ripe for a BOS or EOS or another one, I would echo what Adam said. It's when there's pain points. When a CEO has tremendous frustration that the company's not doing what he or she would like them to do, that the team doesn't seem to be rowing in the same direction, or that they feel like they are working for the business instead of the business is working for them as a business owner, or whatever the frustration is. And when you as the COO can tell that the CEO is ready to hear something like, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. When they're ready to hear that, that's when it's time to get to that opening and start talking to them about getting on a more organized system. One of the things that you know, Adam said is it has to be like a 2-year commitment. And sometimes you're not going to have, in my experience, you know, I've had CEOs who are like all for getting better organized, but they don't want to commit to a full 2-year commitment. And although I am definitely a proponent of going whole hog into one of these systems, and from a purist perspective, there are things that you can do baby steps to start moving them in that direction, and kind of like priming the pump to get them ready for when they are fully open to doing that commitment. So you know, for example, you can just start working with them on, do you have a long-term vision? Let's create a long-term vision. And then from there, let's start breaking that down into, you know, 5 years or 3 years or 1 year and quarterly goals. And then, hey, how are we going to implement these quarterly goals if we don't have a org structure? Let's talk about an org structure. Let's look at the org chart and what's the future org charts? How should that look? And, you know, figuring out how to push those goals down through the organization. And when you're doing those things, you're opening their mind to doing an EOS or another operating system, so that when it's time to make a commitment, they're like, oh yeah, we're already doing half of this. This isn't going to be so bad. I would also say that another way to get a CEO on board is to do a discovery call. I know EOS does them, Catapult does them. You can do, like, some of these you can do YouTube videos. Catapult, you can do even a 1-month software trial for $1. So each of the systems has kind of ways to introduce you to it in a way that you can, like, test out a couple of them and really see if any of them spark the interest of your CEO.
Love it. And I heard the word accountability chart I think maybe Adam, you'd used it, and then Terry used it as well. And I have heard of companies kind of deciding that they needed to embark on an operating system because of the proverbial CEO founder chasing the shiny object, and the detrimental effect that can have on an organization if the organization isn't focused on very specific goals and there's a plan there, but just kind of bouncing from one idea to the other to the other. And we hear the term visionary. Adam, would you mind talking about what the accountability chart is and the specific titles that get used in the accountability chart and why you would use an accountability chart as part of an operating system?
Adam, you're on mute.
My apologies. Yes. So I can share with you what a sample one looks like. So here's the idea, and this is how it's different from an org chart. What we believe in EOS is a principle of structure first, people second, which is completely the reverse of everything we've been taught, what I've been taught, and what probably all of you have been taught, right? You have a person, you find them a seat, you find them a job. That's not how we believe. So we believe we have to take a board of directors approach, like we're looking down on the business, and we ask ourselves the following question: what structure does this business need for the next 6 to 12 months? And then we define these seats. So some of these names have been thrown out, but we define what are the 3 major functions or more on the leadership team level. The reason why we start with 3 is we believe that that's the simplest structure. And with EOS, we always err towards simplicity. Think about your business in the simplest way. It's getting work, that's marketing and sales. Doing the work is operations, and getting paid is finance. At its simplest form, every organization is like that. Then we need an integrator to hold everyone accountable. And then if you have a big ideas person who chases shiny objects, as Chuck said, that's the visionary. And that's the basic structure, and you work from there.
Let's do this. Let's pause for some questions. I think this is very critical in understanding both this, the accountability chart, and then when and where to start. So let's open it up to member questions.
I think we have a question from Aaron. Very patient.
Hey there. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to opine on the previous set of conversations, but it will relate to what we were just talking about. I actually have a little bit of a contrarian perspective on when to implement the EOS, which I actually think you guys will love. In my experience, the moment you hit a company size of around 50 to 75 people, you start losing the ability to manage through water cooler conversation and one-on-one dialogue. You need to have some system that allows you to organize behind goals and objectively look at what we're going to do. Because otherwise, in my experience, companies start evolving into who's the loudest in the meeting. And that's essentially how you run the company. So I would make the argument that don't wait till you have a meltdown in sales, operations, frustrations. If the company is running great and you're 100 people or more, 75 people or more, I just say start doing the baby steps of integrating something like this. Because the other thing that I found when we tried to roll out, we did roll out EOS and others, is that the change management required in order to get everyone believing in a new way to run the company is much harder when you have pre-established norms and behaviors than if you start doing it when you're smaller. So when you're smaller, people are just going to believe that's the way it is. So it's just much easier to get it done. And you got a much better culture around that because everyone's speaking the same language. EOS is also about a lot of vernacular and how you speak about things. So the moment that language starts becoming part of the culture of the company, it just becomes much easier to like literally have conversations with your peers and get stuff done. And then on the last bit about how do you convince your CEO, I think absolutely do the demos, do all sorts of stuff. I think the best way to convince a CEO is find another CEO that's done it and have that CEO get on the phone with your CEO and have them speak to them at CEO on why this was helpful. Otherwise, well, not every CEO is going to be like this, but many CEOs are going to be reluctant because they're going to perceive it as too much structure for them. But if another CEO that's been through it can kind of like walk them through that and how it's actually benefited them, that'll be a much stronger recommendation. So
great points, Aaron. Other questions or comments? Anyone out there, raise your hand if you have a CEO that chases shiny objects.
If your CEO isn't out chasing shiny objects, he's not a real CEO.
Well, you want him chasing shiny objects. That is true. To a certain degree. It's when they catch them, that's when it gets dangerous.
Exactly. Well, and that's why you need a strong integrator to keep him or her in check.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Connie. Other questions or comments before we move on?
I have a general question. Is there an endpoint? Because I noticed in the chat, some of us are less than a year, at a year, 3 years, 9 years. So is EOS forever, or what are your thoughts around that?
I mean, the short answer is it's forever, because what happens is if you stop implementing, and not with an implementer is forever. It could be forever. Like sometimes my clients just want to continue after the 2 years, which is the average time to teach the system. So working with an implementer is not forever, but using EOS is forever, because if you ever stop using it and you ever stop focusing on the 6 key components, you will regress.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
Other questions? I can't see the group. If you have a question, just come off of mute.
I'll ask a question. And we have been running on EOS for about 3 years, and we were working with a fractional integrator and just recently transitioned into fully internal. But which area of the 6 key components do you find that businesses usually struggle with as they grow or as they implement EOS on different levels?
Great question, Victoria.
I mean, I'd like to hear from other people who are running on EOS. I'll pull up the model again, but what did they struggle with? And I can comment too, but let's hear from the wisdom in the room.
So when I implemented EOS with my former firm, we were, 1.8 million. I mean, we really shrunk. We were a small entrepreneurial service firm, professional services, IT consulting and cybersecurity. And we were down to like 1.5. I mean, we were about to lose the firm. And she, my former CEO, my former partner, basically said, I need you to come back. So I implemented EOS. And the first thing was we had to get the vision right. And then the team. We had to have a strong finance person, a strong marketer in sales, and a strong operator. And then, of course, I was the integrator and bringing it all together. And then doing that 2-day workshop was gold. We actually did a long weekend. We did our strategic retreat and we banged it out. And and it was hard. It was working through all those, we didn't realize how disconnected. We all thought we were so aligned. And then we started, putting pen to paper and wording and, how do we identify and doing the word maps and figuring out, who are we and what are we actually trying to achieve? That was actually hard. It was a eye-opening moment of how unaligned we really were. And, some healthy conversations came out of it. But then tracking it. And then as you outlined, you know, as soon as you have that retreat, then having that quarter over, you know, breaking it down to implementable action items and programs, and then to, you know, mapping the goals to the actual projects and how you're going to achieve it. And this is where the operator came shining through, is you got to project manage the crap out of it and make sure that your team's on track and that they all understand what their goals are and what they're being held accountable for every single quarter. And then just, you know, keeping that machine going quarter over quarter, week, and then trickling it all the way down to the week over week meetings that we had with our teams. And we had over 20 different projects at the time. And we ended up growing to like 5 million, and it was great, and the machine was working. And then I left, and I literally just met with my former CEO this week. She actually stayed with me for a couple of days, and she told me she's back down to 2 million. She lost all traction. She lost her team. So it really is forever. It has to keep going. It doesn't matter if you build it up, you get traction. If you don't stick to the program, you lose it.
And I will make one more comment on that. As you heard, the single most important person in an EOS company, and I believe in any company, is the integrator or COO.
100%. Absolutely. And you need a good operator underneath the integrator, because, you know, the integrator is the one threading the needle and seeing it across, you know, functionally throughout the organization. The operator is really like the project manager that's in charge of the day-to-day operations and you know, administering the team and the tasks. But if your integrator is not sitting on top and is empowered to have the authority to call out the CFO, call out marketing and sales, you know, to keep everybody aligned, then it doesn't work.
Great insight. Thank you. Thanks, Connie. Any more questions or thoughts around this section?
We have a couple. Aaron and Narelle, just before we go to them, because they've spoken, is there anyone else who has any other comments? Anyone else use EOS?
Yeah, I was going to touch on when you guys asked, you know, what some of the issues you may have accomplished is, if you don't use it to the fullest extent, you know, I really like the system because it's very simplistic, but if you don't use it in that simplistic manner, then you're not going to see the success. And we went a number of years where we didn't get everything out of it because the accountability chart was, you know, it was documented and it was illustrated and it was put together, but then it was put to the side. And we found that when we go back, there's a purpose for the accountability chart. And if you don't structure your organization based in line with what you have projected in the accountability chart, you're not going to get to success. Like, and it's hard to give individual examples, but we had so many things that we would have a leadership team meeting, and like this isn't an issue. This is an issue with the accountability chart. Like, we have the wrong people doing the wrong things, or you know, we had multiple groups doing the same things because they've always done that. And you know, you shouldn't have that. When you lay out that accountability chart, be very intentional and then turn around and manage to that, and you'll have success so much quicker.
Love it. Yep.
Chuck, we have Arel and Aaron, and then maybe move on to the next question.
Absolutely.
All right, Arel.
I think Aaron's hand was up first. You want to go, Aaron?
Okay, Aaron, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. In terms of like difficulties that we encountered when we first deployed EOS at the executive level and L10 at the executive level, it was all very clear, rocks, how we were going to execute. But our leaders were then taking EOS into their own teams, right? Which, by the way, fine. But then what we started discovering is that literally the vernacular of what's a rock started becoming complicated because like every team had rocks. So like the marketing team had rocks, the executive team had rocks. So we started having to like parse out like what is a corporate initiative, what is a departmental initiative. And we worked through that. But then one of the issues that started coming up as these rocks began to proliferate on a departmental level is that we got a lot of blowback from team members saying, there are so many rocks that I can't even figure out how I'm going to do my day job. Like, how am I going to wake up and literally just do, I don't know, if you're like a performance marketer, how am I going to do like my day-to-day like conversion rate optimization work with my team? Because I got these two other rocks that are departmental, and then I hear that there's other big company rock. So it started to become like hard to manage, like how to simplify and then parse out what work everyone was supposed to be doing, and then how are they going to prioritize their day-to-day work in relation to the big rocks. And then one of the things we have to do, and someone else mentioned it, is like we literally have to have a team which was empowered. It was like 3 or 4 people that would basically just run around the company, making sure that all this alignment was actually taking place, and that was we weren't getting confused. So program managers, project managers, whatever you want to call them, but that sort of type of working under, because like I couldn't keep it all in my head either. Because like, wait, what's the ops team rock? Like, wait, how does that relate to like our company rock? Why are they doing that? It started becoming like a full-time job for a team, a small team, to organize all of it.
So I'd like to just say one thing on that, and then we'll actually go to Tim and then RL, if you don't mind, because Tim is new and he's raising his hand. So first of all, if you look at this, let's see. Okay, so I've got like a big water bottle, right? So imagine like an empty big water bottle, and it contains everything you should be doing in your business, right? You might have heard this analogy before, but what you should be doing is putting your rocks in first. Those are your biggest priorities. Then you put your pebbles in. Those are the to-dos. Those are the day-to-day action items that Aaron was talking about. Then you put the water in, or then you put the water in, and then there's, you know, everything else, right? Or the sand in, and then you put the water in, right? The sand is the interruption, and the water is everything else, right? So part of that is the discipline on the team. But yes, you can set too many rocks. You can totally set too many priorities and then be overstretched. So that's one thing that the integrator's job is to do, is to make sure that the team has set the appropriate level of rocks, given their day-to-day jobs, given their vacations, given the fact that it's Christmas, you know, this quarter, and we know we're going to lose a week of work, right? I mean, whatever it is, that's the job of a leadership team, is to become great predictors and predict what can we truly accomplish in any given 90-day period. That's the answer to that. Let's go to Tim. How can we help?
Yeah. Hi, thanks. I just wanted to hear a little bit of conversation about just what the, like, practically what the costs are around like the implementation, the startup and things like that. Is it a flat cost? Is it based on, you know, revenue? What how does that work?
I can speak to that. So let me share the proven process again. So basically the cost to implement EOS is $0 to about $100,000 over 2 years across the community. I say 0 because you guys could theoretically self-implement. So anyone on this call theoretically could go and self-implement EOS, get the traction book, which is the Bible, and just use that book to self-implement, which is hard because you have a day job, but you could do that. That's kind of the good way to do it. The better way to do it is to do that, plus get a subscription to Basecamp, get all the EOS tools, and then do that, and that's going to cost you $500 a month. Okay? And then the third approach is to find the right fit EOS implementer and then pay them to be your coach through that journey, and that's going to be up to $100,000 over 2 years. Does that answer your question?
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
You're welcome.
Good question,
okay,
Tim.
Yeah, Arel, you still have a question?
No, we can move on. I was going to share one of our challenges. We can move on. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back to you, Arel. I want to hear your challenge. It's going to be a good one, I'm sure. All right, great. So we're at the point where we understand what an operating system can do for us when we may need to implement, and what are some of the signs. I guess, Tara, could you give maybe a synopsis on how to determine the right system to implement? I know obviously you're an EOS integrator. You also do work with Catapult. Would you just share your perspective from a COO point of view on what the right system might be?
Yeah, I think it starts with really understanding what your company's challenges are. And do you already have a very well-oiled machine? Like, are you PNC Bank or, some other really, really big firm who's really, in need of refinement in certain things? Or are you somebody who's, a 20-person company with no structure, or something in between? And that's the first thing, is being clear on what are the challenges that we're trying to solve for. And also getting a sense, thank you for the question, about the cost, because that's a very real concern too. There's, when you think about the different systems, they do have, some of them can be very costly to implement professionally. Something like a Six Sigma, as training and certifications and black belts and all of that. EOS is like Adam said, you can self-implement, but it's hard. It's more resource intensive for your own team. You really need dedicated resource versus outsourcing. And then, some of the software solutions, like a Catapult, for example, is much less expensive, but it's, more of an unknown compared to EOS, where there's, tons and tons of people out there who've done it, who you can ask questions of. So it's really about first knowing what it is that your own goals are and what your own kind of restrictions are. Then you want to go out and evaluate all the systems and figure out which one culturally feels right, and which one, will fit with the resources that you have available, whether people resources or cash resources. And talk to, I think it was Aaron said, talk to other people who have implemented the different programs. That's a very good way to understand if it's going to be a fit for your organization. Go through the demos, go through the consultations, and include others in that process with you. It shouldn't just be you, should be also whoever might be considered on the executive team, so that you can get a well-rounded feedback and have that buy-in going into a system implementation.
Yeah. Love that, Tara. Thank you. And then Lauren, what are some of the resources that EOS Worldwide has in terms of getting started, assessing an organizational needs around an operating system?
Yeah, we actually have a tool that is very, very helpful. It's called the Organizational Checkup. And it's completely free. We encourage people to return to it often. It's 20 questions. It's a digital quiz, as it were. And each of the 20 questions aligns with one of the 6 key components that Adam showed in the EOS process. And so we recommend you take it, have your CEO take it to start. And what it's going to do, if you're being brutally honest in answering those questions, is it's going to identify where you're strong and it's going to identify where you're weak. And so you can look and say, okay, this is where we've got some issues. And as you go through those answers, it kind of starts to direct, we're ready for action. Here's where we know we've hit the ceiling, we can't break through. So kind of the next step then is to, as Adam was saying, determine how you would want to go about implementing the operating system.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We're getting towards the end of our question section. We really have 2 sections left. One is what does success look like? And then what are the keys to sustaining success? So to take a page out of Adam's playbook, I'd love to hear from members on the call who've had success with EOS or other, and describe how did the organization operate, feel like? Was there a bit of culture change that occurred? But what did success look like running EOS or other? And Connie, maybe you could share some or others. I'd love to hear from our members on this question.
I can start, even though we're within a year, I still think there are some successes along the way because we now are more transparent. We're incorporating feedback from the staff. It's visual and digestible. And the word I use is magic. And then I'm a strategist, right? So I'm all about strategic planning, but what EOS does, it allows us to take those baby steps on a quarterly basis. We do our meetings every Monday. And so what I told the staff this week, if I'm able to shift my mind as a strategist and let the magic happen, that I wanted them to get on board too. So they're actually excited and they're giving feedback saying, just keep us informed at the state of the company meeting on a quarterly basis. So we just know that we're moving along because we are mostly remote. So they just want to make sure that we take their insight and they can see the change happening or the magic happening. And so that's good. And it also allows, because the two founders are really still involved in the business after 23 years. Now they're listening to the executive team and we're putting them out front. So the staff is seeing that it's coming from the founders and it's their vision that we're executing and implementing and buying into. So I think it's going to be extremely successful. We don't want to let Eric go, like Adam was saying, in 2 years, but I think so far we're working towards success.
Love it. Love it. That's awesome, Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
Magic.
EOS is magic. And Josh has been talking about it for years and we finally did it. So I'm excited.
Did Josh get a commission on that?
Right. You should, Josh. You should be an implementer for real, for real.
Love it. Other members out there with some success stories. So if not, Tara, what did success?
I think
Oh,
Aaron
ahead,
raised his hand.
Yeah. I mean, I'll briefly on a success story. So we began the journey of deploying EOS right around or right before we went on like a series of major acquisitions. And having that structure in place to allow us to navigate through the post-acquisition integration and alignment process of all the companies was super, super helpful. Because otherwise, frankly, we would have been winging it every day. This allowed us to like bring in all the new executives, the leaders and essentially all operate on a single songbook or model. And it was extremely helpful. So.
Yeah, I would say success from my experiences are, and we talked earlier about the shiny object syndrome. It's when everyone's in agreement that yes, there are so many things that we could do and they all sound great, but we only have bandwidth for so many. And you get agreement on it and everybody's going for the same goals and not spending time on things that aren't going to be contributing to those goals. That's a success. And I'd say the other thing that success looks like is having the right process to get through issues. Because without that, what EOS calls IBS, built into the way that the organizational mindset works, things can fester. This isn't a structure in which the company is really required to say, here's an obstacle, or here's a concern I have, or here's something that's going wrong and I need help. Like, we need to talk through this. Or, even if it's conflict between two, executives, like it gets out on the table and gets solved. And that's just part of the culture, becomes part of the culture. And that's really gets you through a lot of things that could fester otherwise.
Yeah, or as Arel said, it makes things visual, so it's there for everyone to see. Yeah. Any other hands raised if you want to come off? Otherwise, we'll we'll head into our last section. Anything else? Nope. Okay. So, all right. So, Adam, what are the keys to sustaining success over the years? What have you seen? What are the primary keys to sustaining success in running a system like EOS for an organization?
Well, we've talked about some of them already here today. So first of all, it's maintaining that commitment to continue to get strong and stay strong in each of the 6 key components. Must have EOS champions up and down and around the organization, especially through the integrator. The integrator must be a firm believer and lover of the system. Literally, our best implementations are with people who've just fallen in love with it and they can't get enough. They come to our conference every year, you know, which is a big EOS love fest and tribe, and like they go all in. Just like most things we want to be successful with in life, you know, we need to be passionate about it and go for it.
Love it. Same question, Tara.
Everything Adam said, plus maintaining a growth mindset and really just earnestly wanting to improve yourself, improve your company, and make the company a good place to work for everybody.
Yeah. Questions from the group or anyone else want to share their keys to sustaining success?
I would just say keep communicating. You have to remain transparent and keep communicating. I think that's where the traction comes in. Gaining traction all the way down to entry level. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
And getting to the following the whole process, not selectively following it. You need to go, and because we did that and it didn't get us where we wanted to be. So you have to do everything because it is, someone said early on, it's a system, and you need to treat it as a system and do all the steps of the system to get the outcome you're looking for. And then I would also say some continuing education. We have, you have new mid-level managers coming in at different times or being promoted. We just went back through the whole, everybody that's manager, we did kind of a book club and we read Get a Grip, which is one of the EOS books that talks about how to implement, that's actually, Correction's a little bit more of a technical read, where Get a Grip is more story-based about a company and how they go about doing it. So it's a good read for you to read to say, all right, this is a direction that I want to go. And then you still need to read Traction, but this one's an easier read. It's a pretty quick read.
Yeah. Great point. Brian, thank you. Yeah. Any other thoughts from folks? So Lauren, we might have one of the last questions for you, but we heard about resources and Brian mentioned some books and so forth. What are the resources that EOS Worldwide has to provide to those organizations kind of once they get going, once they have their integrator in place or implementer, like how do you help support that journey?
Good question. Yeah, I think it popped into my head. EOS is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And it sounds like people have gone through that and worked through that. And the resources come into the human component of it. I think while the process itself is simple, it's okay, but here's my role in the process. What if I need more? Or what if I need ancillary support to what my implementer is saying? Or as Brian said, new middle managers come in and everything's running smoothly. How do we keep it top of mind? How do we keep it crisp? And so we have no shortage of resources. EOS Worldwide has communities. We have integrator-specific communities. We have communities for all organizations running EOS. So you have, someone said earlier, best way to get a CEO on board is to introduce them to another CEO who's seen success. We see that as well in these communities of other visionaries, other integrators, other leadership teams running on EOS. Someone mentioned continuing education. It's hard to keep the tools in the toolbox sharp if you're not investing in it. And so we have continuing education for visionaries, integrators, mid-level managers. We have something that people struggle with in EOS is making it habit, making this accountability and the ownership of everybody has a job, right? Everybody has a number, making that habit, not only through the leadership team, but then when you roll it out through the organization. We have a software now that really helps do that. It makes running what we call level 10 meetings, just click and go. And it also provides digestible learnings, here's what a rock is, here's what a level 10 is here. It's, I think, Aurel, you said it, I'm going to paraphrase so badly, forgive me. People have to be on board, and they're on board when they're confident in their ownership, in how they contribute. So that's a very roundabout answer. It's a long way of saying there are a ton of resources, and it's really kind of a choose your own adventure, or choose who's speaking and what's their issue, right? And if you can even identify who is speaking and what's their issue, we've got a tool for that in a nutshell.
No shortage of resources, and we'll definitely share those links out. And I guess the question, you can become a certified integrator, and I know a lot of COOs and some on this call that are certified integrators. So the question is, does becoming a certified integrator in EOS or Catapult or other, maybe this is a question for you, Tara, does it make you a better COO, do you think?
I think it does. I think it gives you some perspective. It gives you some tools. And the EOS integrator training in particular provides a lot of guidance on how to make the most of the visionary integrator duo, and how to really complement one another to run the organization really well. So yeah, I think that falls right in line with what everybody's saying with regard to the continuing education is for that integrator in particular. It opens up a gateway also to an integrator mastery forum where there's information sharing, although there are some integrator resources online through Rocket Fuel University that are available to everyone, even if you're self-implementing and haven't gone through any formal training.
Got it. So that's a big yes. Big yes. All right. Let's open it up to final questions, and then we will wrap up. So someone monitoring the board, if you would, check chat as well. Make sure there aren't any lingering questions out there.
Chuck, I didn't see any in chat.
Okay. Anyone else with final questions for the panel?
Yeah, actually, if I could just flip over to Tara quick. The certification path for the integrator, was that through EOS Worldwide? I wasn't familiar that there was a certification for that.
The one I did was through Rocket Fuel University.
Okay.
And you do basically you go through a series of videos and quizzes to make sure you've read traction. And then once you pass that, then you are eligible to go through the actual masterclass.
Okay, excellent. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lauren, we do have a question. Maybe you can answer this on the relationship between EOS and Basecamp.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for catching that. So Basecamp is, I call it an LMS. I call it a learning management software. And it really what it is a digital vault of training content for self-implementing organizations. So there are, oh my goodness, I think 11 hours of video, there are PDFs, there are worksheets. And Adam mentioned earlier, if you determine that you are going to self-implement, you're not going to work long-term with a professional EOS implementer, your best bet is to designate someone in your leadership team, it's usually the integrator, to be your organization's implementer. That is a full-time, that's a lot. And so Basecamp is where we house all of the training and kind of the walkthrough, the resources, I keep using that word, the resources you're going to need to facilitate a focus day with your own leadership, to facilitate a vision building 1, a vision building 2, and to be that person who keeps everybody rowing in the same direction in implementing EOS. And so that's a monthly subscription option offered to organizations who'd like to self-implement. Did that cover it?
Excellent. Excellent.
Yep.
Any final questions out there for the group?
No, this is a different base camp. I think that's where we're getting stuck.
Yes,
It's
not
just,
base
it's
camp
part
like the
of, this is
project
part
management
of,
tool.
right, this is part of EOS. It's just part of EOS.
Yeah.
On our website, it's under resources. It's called Self-Implementer Basecamp. It was just a clever name at an unfortunate time.
All right, excellent. Well, first off, if you're able to come off mute and back on video, let's give a round of applause to our 3 panelists who've done such a wonderful job sharing insights. So thank you so much. Much appreciated. It's a great way of kicking off the weekend. We have a host of upcoming events. I know Josh is here. We've got an executive session. Do we have our September executive session yet? No, it's next week. When is it, Josh? Are you there?
Yeah, it's near the end of the month.
27th.
End of the month. All right, 20. I know it. Okay. All right. I'm getting my days confused, but we've got a great executive session coming up. So please tune into that if you can. Get out, make sure you're making it to your chapter meetings. We'll have a late announcement for an October presenter series. We have a member in Kansas City in her organization that's going to be presenting. We're working out the details. So keep an eye open for an email regarding that. We also have a great lineup of presenters through the end of the year, which we're excited about. So again, thank you all for taking time out. Great to see some of our new members. Thank you again to the panelists and Fiona for helping to pull this off.
Hey, Chuck, can I just say one thing? I just put my name and I just put my contact info in the chat. So if anyone needs any help on your EOS journey, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to Adam. We will duplicate that information again. So in a follow-up email, you'll get Lauren's information and Adam and Tara and please, if you will. And if there was a member on the call that said something that sparked your interest, please reach out to a fellow member to get their perspective as well. So that's what we're here for. Again, thank you all. Have a super weekend. And you're out of here early, so go enjoy that extra 5 minutes. Take care, everyone.